discipline and consistency and then showing up after bad days happen. I think where a lot of people in life and business, in poker, whether it's business, they have a bad day and it can mess up their week or their month, and you have to bounce back like immediately. So like, let's say I had the worst beat ever, or I had a bad business deal, I'm right back into doing what I'm doing like literally the minute after that happened. Because if you're taking days off, those days add up over the years to like a big setback compared to what your competition's doing.
Welcome back to Mic'd Up. I'm your host, Mike DiCioccio, and our guest today has built one of the largest real estate organizations in North America, the Wolfpack, under eXp Realty, which became the fastest growing real estate brokerage in North American history. You heard me right, North American history, but he didn't stop there. He's gone on to build and invest in multiple industries, from insurance and network marketing to small businesses, digital marketing, and also consulting. He's passionate about helping entrepreneurs launch, scale, and build their teams that create real impact. I'm fired up for this one. Welcome back to the show, 3-time World Series of Poker champion, Connor Steinbrook.
What's going on, guys? Good to see you. How can I help? What do you want to go into? But thank you for having me on your show.
Yes, sir. It's been 2 years. So any OGs that tune into the show maybe remember you with the wolf behind you. If you're watching on YouTube, you may remember that background, the Wolfpack. Connor, it's literally been 2 years, so there's a lot to catch up on. I got your websites, your social media, everything EXP, anything you want to share in the show notes as a resource for you. So if you guys are connecting with Connor for the first time, I got that ready to rock and roll for you. But great to have you back on. 2 years flew by. You and I both have a lot of insane things that have changed and happened over that period of time. That's why I wanted to have you back on. The last time I went back and watched a little bit of this yesterday, just to kind of bring my brain back up to speed. You just shared on the episode that 2 years ago, you became the #1 net growth organization globally at eXp. And at that time, eXp had 88,000 agents in the company, and the Wolfpack was about 2,700 strong. Yep. I just checked your IG this morning. It says 37. So you grew 1,000 in just a couple of years, agents, right?
Yeah.
So in addition to just the numbers popping off the charts, give us a scoop on what's been going on with you.
Yeah, man, it's hard to believe it's been 2 years. It seems like we just did this recently, but it's been a tough market in the real estate industry with rates, where they've been for years. And it's been a good year, past couple of years, actually. So we're now about to break 3,800 agents. And this year in 2025, the Wolfpack was the fastest growing organization in the world at eXp Realty. So that's a good thing.
You did it again? You hit that same record again?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So we've, normally in a recession, you're supposed to go backwards, but we've grown through the entire downswing. So excited for when the market comes back on. They're starting to drop rates, which is a good thing. But and then also, not sure how much you want to go into it, but I did revisit an old goal, kind of how my career started, which is I was a poker player in my 20s. And then I started traveling the World Series poker circuit this year and had a little bit of success doing that. So
we're gonna unpack it all. No pun intended with the Wolfpack. We are gonna get to all that. But since you've done this now multiple times, having the #1 growing agency at eXp, is it at eXp or just in general? Is it like, is it within the company? Probably hard to track other companies, right? It's at eXp, right?
Yeah, it's at eXp because we can track all the data, but it's highly possible we're the fastest growing organization in the world.
Yeah, if you do percentages, right?
Yeah, depending on how you look at it, because some companies are at different stages of their growth. Some, when they get off the bottom floor, even if they don't get that big long term, have some pretty exponential growth. But and then it's hard to tell what's happening on the other side of the world. So eXp is global now. Our organization's in over 20 nations. So we got agents in Brazil, we got agents in Europe and New Zealand, Australia. So they're all around the world, actually.
What would you say has been the difference maker? Like, if you think maybe what you guys are doing differently, do you know what the secret sauce is for that growth? Obviously, you've done it multiple times now, a couple of years in a row.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of businesses that grow exponential has to be led with the right culture, the right mindset, coaching inside of it. So the foundation is self-esteem of people that build the business. A lot of people don't have a high self-image, so we work on the person first and then on the skill sets after that. So most people are trying to learn how to market and close and do all this stuff, but we teach people how to have a strong self-reflection and the right mindset as a foundation. And then a lot of real estate teams and brokerages out there, the main thing that they're trying to do is get people into their business and then use them as a stepping stool to get into other businesses off their back, essentially, meaning they'll sell them coaching or they'll get them into some other type of they're using their current business to build other
as a
business.
funnel.
Yeah.
They're using it as a funnel. Yeah.
And so what we do a little bit, I was just saying,
you're very specific. Yeah.
We give everything out for free. We give out our coaching. We give out our mastermind calls. So everything's free when you work with us. You just have to pay eXp Realty their monthly fee. But when it comes to joining the Wolfpack, as long as you join a Wolfpack agent, you're going to get access to all the masterminds, coaching events, and things that we do throughout the year. That's
huge. And obviously that makes sense because you want everybody on your team to do well. I'm sure that works its way up, right? Like any organization, right to the top. But also you're bringing people on to change their lives, right? To make an impact in their, family or whatever it is. And just to make them be the best person on your team. And if you're making them pay for this, or, you know what I mean? You're nickel and diming your own staff and team, which, like you said, other organizations do things like that. It certainly is going to kill morale, right? So the fact you give it away for free, you're not making the revenue on it, but you're making the revenue on great employees, growing teams, good mindset. You know what I mean? Great mindset. And it sounds like you got the right culture built. And I'm not surprised because, I don't know you all that well, but this is my second time talking to you and I've been following you on social media, seeing the cool things you're doing in the world. And I'm not surprised to hear that you have a great team that's all like connected to one mission. So just want to give you, some love on that for sure. Right. Now, if you guys are hearing what we talked about at the beginning, you're not going crazy. We did mention the World Series of Poker a couple times.
Yeah.
3-time World Series champion. You don't do that by accident. You don't just get good at this overnight and you're there. So bring us up to speed on that. What's it look like behind the scenes? How are you traveling? Are you always going to Vegas for that? Like, is it always held in the same spot? I know nothing about it.
Yeah. So just like real quick in like a minute or two, my past story, how I kind of got here is I live in Dallas and I went to the University of Oklahoma when I was a freshman in college. The moneymaker boom happened, which was the online poker boom. And I dedicated my life to the game as a young kid and was very successful at doing it. One of the top online poker players in the world. And I did that from 2003 to 2011. And then if you guys look up the historical kind of record of the industry, there was what was called Black Friday on April 15th, 2011. And that's when the U.S. Department of Justice passed what was called like the UGIE Act, I guess, the Unlawful Gambling Internet Enforcement Act, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And overnight, basically, the entire poker world shut down. It'd been like if the podcasting world or the real estate world shut down tomorrow and all you guys have worked for and everything up into that moment just disappeared. And I kind of got into a moment where I lost myself as a young kid and I kind of lost my identity, got real tough, almost took my life. And that's when I came back to Christ and came back to my faith. And then shortly after that is when I fell heavy into personal growth and self-development. That's when, I was struggling and I came across the black and white recordings of Napoleon Hill. So I'm not sure if I'd be here if it wasn't for Napoleon Hill. And that led me to like Earl Nightingale, Bob Proctor, Les Brown, Zig Ziglar. And for like the next 5 years, I went heavy into like personal growth and self-development. And then I started.
That's like that's the Mount Rushmore of personal growth right there.
Yeah. Those are the OG.
Faith as the North Star. And then you got a lot of business guys in there, the Zigs of the world, the Napoleon Hills of the world. And 100%. I think most of our audience tuning in knows all those guys and tuned into the John Maxwell's. And you mentioned Bob Proctor too, right?
Yeah, Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, all of them. Les Brown.
Yeah, Les Brown's awesome. I love Les Brown. So you're doing that. You're getting your mind. So you're getting your soul right. You're healing that. You're building the foundation of your mindset. And now really anything you did, Connor, whether it was real estate, insurance, creating your own business, doing something with poke, like whatever you're going to do, you now have a strong foundation built. So did you initially, I know you were doing some other stuff. It was like insurance. We talked about it in the beginning, some marketing stuff, or were you like interested in real estate right away?
Yeah. So you're right on that. So like, if you have your faith in God and then you build yourself, your mind and your body. So you got to work on your personal development as far as building your mental side, not just the intelligence, meaning acquisition of knowledge and wisdom, but the mental toughness side of things. There's two sides of the mindset. So you got to be resilient. You can't just be smart and have knowledge and wisdom because you're going to get knocked down. And then you have to work on your body because you're going to have the energy to chase the goals. But then it doesn't matter where you put your crosshairs. It could be real estate, insurance, poker, small business, restaurants. You're gonna be successful if you continue till you don't quit. But I first started out in insurance, and I was building a team at World Financial Group, which is where Ed Milet's from. And then I really didn't like insurance, and I always wanted to build passive income. After I started looking into different options as a young kid, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I realized passive income was going to essentially set myself free because I played poker and I made good money, but that was directly trading my time to get paid. Same thing as a sales agent, or when I was flipping houses, you have to trade your time in exchange for the money that's coming in. So the long goal was passive income, but I didn't have the ability to be bank financeable, and I hadn't raised money yet. So I started out doing what's called wholesaling houses. So I started as a wholesaler here in Dallas, Fort Worth. Then I moved into a flipping business. We used to flip a bunch of houses. And then I started building my rental portfolio after I started to become financeable, and I started learning creative financing strategies, owner financing, creating and selling notes, started doing mobile home deals, mobile homes on land and in parks, and then some raw land deals and things like that. So I built a successful investment business here in Dallas, Fort Worth. And then I built a YouTube channel called Investor Army that I was heavy on for a number of years. And then when I was on Investor Army, a lot of people started reaching out to me about EXP Realty. And that's when I decided to get my license. And I joined EXP at the kind of, maybe not the bottom floor, but not too long after it started. I think there was like 6,000 or 7,000 agents when I joined the company. And that was about 8 years ago. And currently right now we have almost 3,800 agents, 20 plus countries, doing billions of dollars in sales, and fastest growing organization in the world. And then what happened, how I got back into poker was I had, for like 8 years, hadn't played a tournament. If you guys look at my records on the internet. And then I live right here in Dallas, Fort Worth, like an hour north on Lake Texoma, which is not far from Choctaw Durant, which is where one of the biggest WSOP circuit stops is. And so the World Series of Poker that you guys watch on TV are those summer bracelet events. So it started out with it started out with bracelet events in the summer. And so every year there's basically a little bit less than 2 months a year. Everybody travels in from the European circuits, the Asian circuits, to Vegas to play for World Series of Poker bracelets. It's 2 months of tournaments. And then the rest of the year, just like the PGA Golf Tour, the WSOP World Series of Poker travels around the country. And then there's also an international circuit. So they do 10-day circuit stops. And usually there's 18 World Championship ring events at each stop. So there's different buy-ins and different games, pot limit Omaha, no limit Hold'em. And so that circuit was coming through for years. And I just drive by the signs. And then one day I was just like, I had this urge to go play for some reason. And I got like 11th in the first event. And I was like, maybe I can still kind of do this. And so I played that.
Coming in cold. You came in 11th.
Yeah. First one.
That's incredible, man. You got it then. You absolutely have it as a gift.
Yeah. And so I cashed like 5 times that circuit when most pros cash like, 2 or 3 times a stop. And I think this is pretty cool for you guys that are trying to build a business or trying to improve yourself. Because I know sometimes to slow down, to speed up is hard to do. And you don't want to read and you don't want to acquire the knowledge and wisdom. But after almost 10 years of not doing anything with the game, I hopped right back in, and it was like the information was still there. The skill set that I built was still there because I never took a stride off. And what that meant to me is this kind of like a personal science experiment with my own self, that it really impressed upon me that the skill sets that we invest into ourselves, they don't go away. I feel like it's kind of like I'm on my computer. I got all these folders closed. But if I click on the folder, all that information is right there. And I feel like our brain kind of stores information the same way. So it's just work hard on yourself and really develop your skill sets out, because they don't go away. Not like, maybe a little bit, but I was actually shocked how much I retained after. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
I think people who play instruments can relate to that, myself included. Like I played drums from about 10 years old until my late 20s all the time. I was in different bands and every school band, right? Playing out on the weekends. And then, when I got married and my daughter was born, I wasn't playing out, I wasn't doing that as much, and then got into business. And that kind of became the thing I led my passion with. And I gave all my time and attention to that and taking care of the family too. And then about 5-6 years ago, I got behind the kit again at worship. And it came back to me. Now, was I a little rusty? Sure. But like a lot of that core memory came right back to me, and just reminded me like, wow, why did I suppress this? This is something that I should be leaning into. And now, I don't get to play as much now, again, but I'm mixing it in more, mixing music into it. And there's a lot of really cool tools with technology where we can create music. So whatever that is for the audience tuning in, get back to that thing that lights you up. Like, for Connor, it's sitting in a poker tournament.
Yeah.
That that you're highly, 11th coming in cold. Now, my question about that is, like, when I think of World Series, I associate it with baseball. I'm a baseball, football fan. I love sports. So that's a whole season that leads up to that final event. Is that how the World Series of Poker is, or no? Or is that just kind of like, what's this tournament size? How long does it go?
Yeah, it's kind of more like if you think of like the PGA Tour with golf.
Yeah.
You think about like the normal PGA events, they're all kind of the same players, but they're just normal events. And then you have the Masters, and then you have the majors. You have like the US Open, British Open, PGA Championship, and the Masters. Those are kind of like would be like bracelet events if you look at poker. So 10 months of the year we travel the circuit, and then 2 months.
When you're saying bracelet, you're talking about like, is it like a special, literally a bracelet? If you don't have that, you don't get in type deal. It's like a VIP.
No, just when you win a WSOP Vegas summer event, you get a bracelet. And so basically the circuit usually the circuit ranges from like $400 buy-ins up to $1,700 buy-ins. And then in summer, you have the WSOP international circuits, the Asian circuits, all the poker players around the world convene in Vegas for the summer events. And that's what you guys watch on ESPN. And then instead of winning championship title rings, you win WSOP gold bracelets. And so that's like the creme de la creme. So like, it's just like in golf where you can win a PGA Tour event. That's like a circuit event. But if you win a Masters or a major, that's kind of like the big goal. And there's
only one winner at the end of the World Series, right? And
so they
three
do
times.
So it's a series of events. So they do, I think there's like close to 60 events now, but they're different buy-ins. Some are small field, Omaha games stud, some are no limit hold'em, some are regular hold'em, some are $1,000 buy-ins, some are 10,000. And they even have some like high roller events where they're like $100,000 buy-ins that people come and get backed by like billionaires. And but they're real small, like 100-person fields.
Yeah, that makes sense. But so the events that you started, the bracelet events that you were in, you're a 3-time world champ in that, which is cool.
Yeah, 3-time circuit winner. So I have
circuit winner.
Yeah. So
okay. Circuit winner. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, this year, so basically what happened was the circuit came through Choctaw, and I played that first circuit, and I cashed like 5 times. And then I was like, well, I always wanted to win either a ring or bracelet, and I never did it because my poker career ended so abruptly from one day to the next. And so it's like, imagine chasing goal for 10 years and then it just ended, and then leaving a past.
You're so close. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? When they come through Choctaw Durant, I'll just play the series a couple times a year because they come through multiple times, and eventually I'll win a ring. And so then I waited a few months and they came back through. Same thing. I had like 4 or 5 cashes and I final tabled and got close. And I was like, I'll do it again. And a few months later, they came back through. And this time I cashed, I think, like 5 times. And I was like, you know what? I'm not getting enough opportunities. I'm getting close. Why don't I just travel to some circuit stops? And then also I run the Wolfpack, which is a global organization. So I have agents in all 50 states. And so I was like, well, here's what I'm going to do. 2025, I'm going to travel around North America. At each major city, I'm going to do events and help do recruiting events and build the teams out. In the mornings, I'm going to work on my businesses. And then the evenings, I'm going to go play the tournament. So what I did was
incredible.
So I restructured my day or my whole schedule. And so every day during the series, there's a morning tournament that starts at like 11 or 12. And then there's an afternoon tournament. And then you can late register these events, sometimes 2 to 4 hours after they start. So I was like, I'm going to wake up, work on my businesses until early mid-afternoon. And then I'm going to go late registration, the first event, and try to spin up a stack. And if I bust, I'm going to play the afternoon event. And so basically that's what I've done for the past almost 300 days. I've been on the road this year, literally living in a hotel for almost 300 days. But I started out this year I had a goal to break the single season World Series of Poker total number of cashes record. And then also I wanted to break the final table record. And so going into this year, I think Daniel Lowry, I think it was 2023, he cashed 38 times, was the previous world record. And last night I made my 76th cash. So, so I doubled.
Dude, that's insane, man. You're basically like people misuse the word rock star a lot. Like, oh, there's a rock star in my company. And I get what, the meaning of it. And I've even used it too. But you're literally like a rock star on the road, instead of playing an instrument, you're doing something that you're passionate about and you're cashing out, I'm guessing you're making a ton of great relationships and connections. And I love this. This is something that we can all learn from. You're doing what you love in the morning, building your team, growing your business, having team meetings, meeting new people, bringing new people into the wolf pack. And then you're doing what you're passionate about that you also get compensated for, and you're winning enough where it's not like a bad habit and a gambling problem where you're losing all the time and you're like everything good from Wolfpack is going out the other end. 76 times you're winning in a year. That's like almost doubling. What is that doubling? I'm not that great in math.
Yeah,
close to double.
Broke the world record twice. And
yeah, you broke the world record twice.
Yeah.
And so I'm guessing you're doing pretty good financially at these wins. You don't have to share how much you won, but that's incredible. I love the idea that you're combining. A lot of people say, I'm not able to do that. I just mentioned it with drums. I got married, I have a kid, I got a job. Like, when am I going to go and play out at a club? It's just not possible. It is possible if you plan, schedule time with yourself, and you just let everybody know, hey, couple hours a week, I'm going to be hanging here. It's just like if I had a work meeting or something at church at night, like if I volunteer here for 2 hours, you don't ask where I am at, but I'm just going to play band practice or whatever. And you're doing that and you're scheduling it. And there's no surprise that you're successful because you had a plan, you laid it out, and you're doing it. I'm curious, so playing poker, obviously the term poker face has everyone understands what that means, is you can't really tip your cards or show what you're doing, or you gotta be like cement, personality when you're at the table typically. But is there anything you've learned playing poker that's allowed you to be successful that you feel like you've taken that skill back to business, and maybe the other way around, things that you've learned in business that have allowed you to be a better poker player?
Yeah, I mean, they call the poker table the business table, essentially. So everything in poker is essentially the same thing you're doing in business. It's a decision-making process that you're having to make high-level decisions all the time that have risk behind it in the lifetime moments. So basically what poker is, let's say Mike's bluffing me. I have to decide, is he lying to me or not? So I'm looking at his body language, the timing of his bets, the way he sits in his chair, did he grab his drink? I'm looking at all these little cues or tells that you can kind of pick up, and using deductive reasoning and working back to say, do I put my money in and call him out? Is he lying or is he not? And so emotional intelligence is a very big part of building a business and working with people. Do you know if people are, trustworthy? Are they not? Are they leading you on, or are they not? Are they interested or are they not? So poker gives you a lot of the ability to start reading people based off energy levels and discernment and, body language more than what they're saying, but more off their actions. So just naturally, it's helped me with a lot of body language and communication and understanding in sales and life and business, as well as leadership. Mm-hmm. And then also when you're playing poker, your bankroll is the size of your business bankroll, essentially. So if I'm in a poker tournament and I've got 2 chips left, that's like if I'm in business and I got $2,000 left and I'm trying to generate leads. What do I spend it on? Do I spend it? Do I take a risk and put it into direct mail, paid ads? Do I keep it back and just pay my bills this month and try to do cold calling? So if you have a small stack, you can't take a lot of risks. But then let's say I have 500,000 chips and everybody's at 50,000. Well, I can drop a $25,000 marketing campaign. And if it doesn't go well, I've got all these other bullets I can fire, essentially more buy-ins. And so it teaches you a lot of bankroll management. So understanding risk and reward and making lifetime analysis and having that lifetime analysis while you're in the hand is kind of the same thing we're doing in business on a daily basis. Where do I spend my time? Where do I spend my money? Where do I spend my emotions and my energy? And then also just to break world records and things like that. A lot of what I did was I took the consistency and discipline that I learned from the business world, day in, day out, showing up and understanding there's going to be a lot of ups and downs and adversities along the way. But I took that back into the poker world. So a lot of the things that I picked up in business over the years, I brought back into the world, where I think a lot of these kids coming up in the poker world, it's kind of, they're called backpack kids or pajama. Some of them wear pajama pants. It's like a badge of honor that they can stumble out of bed, come down in their pajama pants, and instead of having to get put into a suit. And so they're all, they think like that, but a lot of them aren't really dialed in like elite level entrepreneurs are, where they'll stumble in at like 1 p.m., but not because they're building their businesses, because they just woke up, but discipline and consistency, and then showing up after bad days happen. I think where a lot of people in life and business, in poker, whether it's business, they have a bad day and it can mess up their week or their month, and you have to bounce back like immediately. So like, let's say I had the worst beat ever, or I had a bad business deal. I'm right back into doing what I'm doing, like literally the minute after that happened, because if you're taking days off, those days add up over the years to like a big setback compared to what your competition's doing.
And that's incredible what you just said right there. There's so many great things. And I know a lot of people are going to learn from what you said right there. And I love that what you said, you're connecting it to business and there's intention behind it. It's like showing up like an entrepreneur with the daily discipline, the right mindset behind it. And then it works. The other mindset of just kind of rolling out of bed, doing it, whatever, like that's cool. That works for them. That's fine. But they're missing all this other stuff that you're seeing the fruit from because you're doing it with intention. And I think that's really cool because I'm sure when you started this, that wasn't even a realization yet. It's over time and years now of doing it where you're seeing these common denominators, right? Between the business and the poker table. I'm curious, is there a lot of chess going on, mental chess going on with people that like, maybe if they don't have a good hand, they do take a sip of their drink. And then, only when they have a bad hand, you notice they do that. So maybe they pick up on the fact that other people picked up on it. Now they're doing it. They're drinking on a good hand, right? And boom. So how, like, is it all mental on top of making sure you're playing the right hands? Is that what it's like, chess?
Yeah, it's a high level mental battlefield essentially. So what you're talking about is called a false tell. So let's say I know that like so there's different levels to the game. So like level 0 would be like, I don't know anything. Level 1 is like, hey, I kind of understand these things. And so if you're at like level 2, you can see that people are at level 1. So as you move up levels in anything, you can regress back down, see kind of the patterns or where people are at in their progression. So let's say I know Mike is checking out some bet timing tells, and I know that he thinks that if I bet fast, I'm bluffing on the river or something like that. Mm-hmm. So now that I'm aware that he's at that level of thinking, that's his belief system of what's happening there, I'm going to reverse and level up again. So I'm going to play the reverse level. I'm going to do the opposite, which would be to most people the normal tell. But because he knows that, he's intentionally putting a false tell out there doing the opposite. So I'm going to flip it and go opposite again. So it's just going
zigzag game, man. It's like, yeah. That's crazy. And then obviously people know like, oh, damn, he got you. Like, is there a little bit of that, like kind of a smirk, or they acknowledge the fact that you got me on that tell, or that bluff?
You don't want to,
or do they just, yeah. Do you guys talk about it afterwards? Like, damn, you got me that time? Or is it one of those things that you don't ever tell anything because that's an advantage, right? You want to give your advantage away.
So the World Series of Poker is like the NFL of poker. It's you're not going to go tell like the other players, like, you may be like good hand, but you're not like, if someone's telling you something, it's another misdirection. Like, because we play each other. So like when we go to city, I'm playing all the best poker players out there. So like I get to play like Maurice Hawkins and all these guys. And like, I'm not going to sit here and tell them something and they're not going to tell me something. And if they did, it's to set up a future hand in the future. If that makes sense. That makes
a lot of sense. Do you guys actually then hang out and just not talk about poker and can enjoy hanging out with each other? Or is it not like that because it's so competitive?
There's a little bit of both. There's a frenemy world, I guess you could say. I mean, there's a mutual. So like it's a really tough thing what we do. And there's a mutual respect, but and we got friends in the poker world, and it's good to have, just like you do in the business world and entrepreneurship space, a circle of people that can share ideas and bounce ideas off each other. But ultimately, like, you could sit there and be good friends. It happens all the time. There's been times where husband and wives, both are good poker players, end up playing each other on like a final table. And so there's times when best friends that like a lot of poker players to cover expenses that are not kind of at a higher elite level, they're making good money, maybe 50, 150K a year, but they travel with each other. And so you got roommates sharing rooms or Airbnbs, and then they have to play each other. So it's an interesting thing. You share knowledge and wisdom so everybody can move forward, but at the same time, you're all moving forward and you're going to run it cross paths with each other.
You got to learn how to turn it off, man, and just be, the game is the game. And then afterwards, like, we can go back to and I know that it's not easy, and I'm guessing a lot of relationships are tarnished because of it. There was a point I wanted to circle back to, man. And that's interesting. So you probably spend a lot more of your free time with the EXP folks, right? Like after you're done with your tournament, you get back together with your team. Man, there was something else I wanted to ask you about there about how business connects back. I like what you said there about managing your budget. There's a lot of really good common denominators between the game and business. But if it comes back to me, I'll pull it back out of my brain here.
The poker table. So like who plays poker? Poker players. But then most of the poker players out there now are recreational
Yeah.
good regs. And so who are good regs? Business owners like myself, entrepreneurs.
Right. They got some extra money to throw around.
Yeah, you got ex-athletes. I get to play, like I play with Sergio Aguiar or whatever. He's like WS or a World Cup champion or something, a big soccer player the other day. I didn't even know who I was playing with. And everybody's like, that's Sergio. And I was like, because I didn't really follow soccer, but I get to play with ex-NFL players. And a lot of these guys are putting their championship rings as their card holders and stuff like that. Because if you think about it, they played for years. They were super competitive, which is kind of what got me into poker in the first place. Was I played a lot of sports. And then when my sports career ended, I had all this time and extra time. And so I filled the competitive edge playing cards. And so you see a lot of ex-athletes, politicians, movie stars, and then business owners. And so also I'm in real estate. I have a global business that operates in all 50 states and multiple countries. So there's a lot of wealthy people at the poker table, and they buy expensive houses. And so what I do is I develop relationships, and I help kind of, I can, let's say I have a top agent in that market. Well, I can connect them to them. And then also, I buy real estate and raise money and all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot of business relationships that are also built at the poker table. So I'm building my businesses. I'm also taking shots at trying to achieve certain goals and things like that.
Yeah, that competitive edge can come back out. I remember what my question was. It was I recently saw a couple podcast episodes. His name's Dr. Oz, I believe, right? It's not Oz, it's pronounced Oz. Is that right? The guy who did the mind guy, the mind reader guy.
Yeah.
He was on Rogan and a couple different things. He does NFL, like he'll go into like a team meeting and just like, basically it's like he does it's like magic right there live. But, he has studied all these like ancient, everything from way back when to more modern stuff, just about being able to read tells, and get different information from people. And I don't know how he accesses, like he'll do people's PIN code on their phone. He'll do like their bank account number, and then they have to go and change it. Like he does some crazy stuff where if he was getting the information from like friends and family members, he would have had to go through like 12 steps to you know what I mean, to pull that trick off, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of stuff I remember hearing him talk about that you just mentioned about reading people, tells, energy, emotions, and knowing how to use it in that situation. For him, he's just doing it as like an illusion. But for you, you're doing it to gain information for a poker tournament. Have you studied some of that, whether it's books? I'm just curious if you have, or if you can share that. You don't want your competitors out there to maybe know what you're doing, but
yeah. So Tony Robbins, like UPW, he has a little bit different numbers up. They're like 17% and like pretty close to this, but there's a study like a long time ago that I came across called 10-45-45, which is the ability for humans, how we communicate. So first is the nonverbal side, and then the body language, and then the delivery of the information. So everybody thinks like the words I'm saying is the most important part of communication. And how do you build a business or a team? Everything is about communication. How do you run a family or anything? You have to be able to communicate. So 10% they studied is the actual words being said. So the words coming out of my mouth, which is why salespeople are so fixated on scripts. And I need to have the right words to say, but really they need to say the right words in the right way, or even the wrong words in the right way with the right body language. So 10% is the actual words, 45% is the delivery of those words, the tonality, the emphasis, the energy, the emotion behind them. That's why you could give two twins that look identical to each other the same movie role, and one's going to have to get the $10 million part. The other one's not going to get the role, but they're saying the exact same words on the script. So the difference is the emotion, who can connect emotionally with the person they're talking to. So it's not so much what you're saying, but how you're saying. It's a transference of energy. And then the other is 45% is the nonverbal body language. So like, as I do this and I do my hand like this, somewhere throughout my life, it's been a pattern. Like I've done this and it's gotten me the same result that I was looking for. And so naturally, when you see people do like things and like stop, we communicate. We have this whole understanding of body language communication that we're all doing 24/7 when we talk to people, but it's unconscious. We're not saying like, oh, well, because I hold my hand right here, that means this, but it's like a different language that we all speak internally that we've learned, but it's just not part of our conscious awareness. When we hear the words, you're hearing the words I'm saying to you consciously and you're processing them, but my body language is being interpreted by you guys through your unconscious mind. And so so the most important thing in life and business is controlling your energy and your motion, the tonality of your words that you say, and then the body language that you deliver them from. So you have to have a consistent body language of the words you're saying. So if I'm showing a strength posture, but my words are coming out weak, it's going to have a misalignment and it's going to feel off. And this is why sometimes you guys have that level of discernment when you're talking to unethical people. They feel slimy, or you just feel like they're a dirty salesman or they're a politician. That's the misalignment of these three parts: the words, the tonality, and the emotion, and the body language. But if you can't align all three, you're not going to have that connection with someone where they know, like, and trust you. And if you want to build a business, or especially go into leadership or sales, you have to have the alignment of these three parts of how you communicate with people.
Mic drop moment right there. I couldn't agree with you more. Dude, that's incredible. And so that means, in relationships and business relationships, growing your team, you have almost a superpower, right? Because it's like a muscle that you've been training over and over and over. And it's for good, because you're able to read people but be genuine and know how to use it for good. I do want to make sure I have a disclaimer. You didn't ask me to do this. I don't know if I have to do this, but I do want everyone, if you're going to gamble responsibly. If you only have a couple $100 to your name, I'd rather see you put that towards something that immediate needs, right? And resources. Unless you're great at poker, then go put it all on the table. No. But yeah, gamble responsibly, folks. Connor is a pro, and he's been doing this for many, 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 many years. I'm going to give some love to our sponsors real quick, and then get some rapid fire.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, brother. So Social Chameleon, that's my company. Everyone tuning in that's been here before knows that. Socialchameleon.us. You press record, we handle the rest, and is podcasting done for you. And we, in particular, work with businesses. So if you're running a business, you're looking to get your content out, and you want a great way to do it with hands-off approach, check out socialchameleon.us. We are recording this in Riverside. Where are you at right now?
I'm in Dallas.
You're in Dallas. I'm in Philly, and we're doing this interview right here through riverside.fm, so we can get high quality audio and video. We love working with Riverside, and we've been doing this now for a couple of years with them, and it's been great. Customer service is always great. And the same with Libsyn.com, Libsyn.com. That's how we get the audio of this podcast out to Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and all the great players out there. So you can listen to the episodes as well. And anyone who's tuning in on YouTube, thank you for being with us. If you're loving the episode right now, make sure you do hit that like, subscribe. The drill, turn on your notifications. Connor, let's get to your lightning round here. I know a lot of times I'm not, I don't do my part in lightning round. I might ask too many follow-up questions, but I'm going to try to actually make this lightning round. So what's one book that changed the way that you think about business or entrepreneurship or leadership?
So the most important book, obviously, is the Bible, and it's also the best business book. But the main business book that you guys would probably resonate with that changed my life was Think and Grow Rich. But really, before Think and Grow Rich, it was Napoleon Hill's black and white recordings of his 17 principles of success that turned into the book Think and Grow Rich. And on my wall right here, I have the 17 principles of success: definite purpose, master my alliance, apply faith, go an extra mile, and so on. So I've lived by these ever since I came across Napoleon. But that was the beginning of my self-development journey. Was I hit rock bottom, was very lost in life after my poker career was taken from me. I went from sports cars and diamond watches to living at home with my parents, lost in life. And I just got to like a moment where I was like, life doesn't make sense to live anymore. And that's when God came back in my life. So I read the Bible for the first time. I was like, I call myself a Christian, but I had never read the Bible, and I was in my late 20s, and I had like read parts of it, but never cover to cover. And so what I did was I was like, I'm going to read 5 pages a day, every day, until I read the Bible. And so as I did that, and I was going through that process, that's when self-development was put into my life, and just things just started happening where the right books, and then Earl Nightingale and Jim Rohn, and then all those thought leaders. And that was like the next five years of my life was just obsessive consumption of anything I could find. Like as soon as this podcast would end, I'd be like turning my phone on to an audiobook, like literally like the second. It was just because I was like, I have to reprogram decades of the wrong programming coming up through government education and all that type of stuff. But those are the most important books in my life.
Love it, man. You're doing it the right way. If you could have dinner with any entrepreneur, past or present, who would it be and why?
It'd be Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, I didn't want to lean into that, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Him or Jim Rohn. Probably Jim Rohn was pretty cool. One of my favorites. What I'd do is I'd have a dinner with all those people. So there's like that core stable: Jim Rohn, Bob Proctor, Les Brown, Earl Nightingale, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy.
You'd have them all over at the EXP office and say, come on in.
And what Napoleon talks about in one of his, I think it's in Think and Grow Rich, was like having a mental dinner with people and visualizing that they're there at the table. So I used to do this when I was going to bed. I'd lay in bed and I'd visualize myself with these certain mentors and people, different ones, like for my body, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bruce Lee.
Wow.
And at one point I had the faces of all these high level entrepreneurs in my room. And so I had Vanderbilt, JP Morgan Chase. And so in my room, I had all the black and white pictures. So imagine a room with like all these high level people. So when I'd wake up in the morning, the first thing I'd see is all these people looking in at me from my walls. And it would remind me that I have a bigger purpose and that I can achieve a lot in life, and that's how I started my day essentially. But I would have these mental conversations after I studied these people and read their books and listened to their recordings, where I felt like I knew them and I could actually ask questions, and unconsciously, like I was going through the visualization process of those conversations. And so I know it's kind of a little out there, but I guess it worked for me.
No, dude, I'm freaking amped up right now. I'm giving some great ideas. I love the idea. Visualization. It's always a tongue twister for me. I first learned about that through Tony Robbins, where like, and then he talked about like Michael Phelps does it, and a lot of these great athletes do it, where they're actually visualizing themselves in the moment of getting gold. 100%. Right. So I'm sure you've done it like visualizing. I don't know why that word tongue twists me, but you're at the table and you're already imagining winning. You're at the real estate deal and you're already imagining yourself winning there. So poker or real estate, which gives you a bigger adrenaline rush?
Real estate gives me a bigger check.
Okay.
Poker gives me like a much bigger like adrenaline rush. Like it's hard to explain playing at a final table or winning a championship. So I mean everything's got like own give and take, but real estate. So like real estate's definitely, you can make more money in business. So if you guys are young and you're thinking, you're watching this and you're like, how do I go make a lot of money? Don't go into poker. Go into business. Now,
right.
If you're wanting
poker is your thing that you're passionate about. That also brings you a little. Yeah, it's like a hobby. You get some money. You get the adrenaline rush from it. You're making relationships. You're traveling the world. It's awesome. But you wouldn't do it. Like you're doing it as something fun to do along with this amazing career you built for yourself and really company you built with an EXP. So that makes a ton of sense. Do you have a go-to pump up song before a big meeting, before a big poker event, something that just gets you in the right headspace? Maybe in the gym?
I mean, it's a lot of stuff. I mean, probably like Rocky, I used to listen to in gym, but lately I've listened to Bryson Gray or whatever. It's got some like hard hitting Christian music that I like to listen to. Cause I was crazy when I was little. I was like a typical PK. I ran wild, parties, girls, and all that stuff. And that kind of came back as I got older. To my face. So I listen to like Christian rap, country music. I pretty much listen to whatever.
Send me some good Christian rock, because I do like some Christian, but a lot of the stuff I resonate with as a musician, and this isn't, I hope this doesn't sound conceited, but some of it's just too bubblegum for me. You know what I mean when I say that, where it's like a lot of the stuff I've heard sounds like it's all trying to sound like the same thing. And one of the things I love about music, I grew up, in the late 80s, early 90s, through like grunge and rock and roll and alternative rock, where all these great bands existed, but they all had their own unique thing. The Chili Peppers didn't sound like Nirvana. It didn't sound like the Smashing Pumpkins. You know what I mean? Like there were so many different, like STP had its core sound, and all the way that Scott sounded was unique. So there's Christian music I absolutely love, but it's usually the more unique things where it's like the singer is totally a one of one, So send me some stuff, because I would love that.
Yeah, look at Bryson Gray. So like some of the stuff it transcended into like normal stuff I was listening to, and I'm like, this is
BRYSON and then GREY.
Yeah, there's a song called "Do It" that you probably have heard.
Okay.
And a lot of people use this like Instagram, like like behind their clips of reels and stuff like that. And a lot of people take his music and put it behind short form content, and they don't realize that he's like a Christian rapper until they really listen to the songs. But he's good.
You're saying a rapper, like as in hip hop?
Yeah. Like,
oh, that's awesome. I dig some of that too.
People that don't believe in God and Christ would probably listen to his music.
Listen to it.
It's good. Yeah.
And that's Bryson Gray.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm definitely checking that out. I'll give you one to check out if you do like kind of like folky rock, like something that just sounds like a guy picking up a guitar, really connecting with the soul. Josh White. Josh White. And I'll send you a couple examples, but I think that the album's called The Followers that I really like. And a lot of times whenever I'm going through like something with faith, it's funny. I'll just put on, I'll tell I'm not going to say who, but on my Apple phone, I want it to wake up right now, but I'll say, hey, put this song on, or I'll just say play music. And then it's funny because it'll come in the rotation. It's like that little God wink moment. And it's usually Josh White. So what do you have as like your one daily habit? It's a non-negotiable for you. It doesn't have to be business related, but just mindset, something that you don't go a day without doing this thing.
Like not again, was like not trying to force my belief systems, but I have a daily relationship with God now, and I pray to start my day, and I pray to end my day, and I pray throughout my day. And that's literally the secret to all my successes. No matter what adversity I go through, or what challenge, or when I feel things aren't going my way, just knowing that God has my back. And that's what gives me the ability to take risk in life. It gives me the ability to keep pushing when things don't look like they're going to work, because I know they will in time. But I was really lost until I came back to my faith. And I know we're kind of weird time in this world right now where people are like, don't know what they believe. And I think there's a lot of stuff on social media that's intended to pull us away from who we are and what we truly are. But that's my foundation. Now, on top of that, basic things, trying to stay hydrated. I take a lot of supplements. It takes me like 15 minutes a day just to take all my supplements that I take, just to keep my body right. I'm trying to constantly stretch and stay limber as I get older, because your body impacts your mind, your mind impacts your body. And if your body's not feeling well, it's going to impact your mindset. If your mindset's messed up, then both are going to lead towards lesser results in your life and business. So constantly staying hydrated, having good sleeping patterns, and then working on, your flexibility and your, making sure your body's in alignment. Those are all going to be like core foundation things that you need to focus on before you dig into all the other parts of life and business. So you have to have the right foundation, because if your body breaks down, you're not going to want to go out there and play cards or run your business. And so
literally a machine that you need to continue to, put the right things into it, the right ingredients into it. And it needs the proper, just like we charge our computers, we charge our phones. And then, I'm speaking to myself here. I don't always get great sleep. And, some of those habits that aren't strong, and you're trying to be the best business version of yourself, the best dad, the best husband, whatever it looks like in your world. And how can you be the best if you're literally like you're operating at 12% battery power and you're trying to be 100%? It's just, you're putting yourself in a tough situation. I've been there, done that. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. So that's great to hear, and just a great reminder for us to get back to some of that. We talked about earlier, it's the foundation, man. You build it there and then you stack on top of that. Would you say is the best investment you've ever made that wasn't financial? It sounds like we kind of know some of the answer there, but is there anything maybe we wouldn't think about?
I mean, obviously just, like the investment yourself is going to be the cliche answer. Because like we talked about with my poker, what I learned 10 years ago stayed in the mindset when I try to recall it later. So just aggressive consumption of any skill set that you guys have. But the most important thing in life and business is your communication ability. If if you don't know how to influence or avoid being influenced in the wrong way by people trying to influence you, you're going to make bad decisions. You're going to end up at the wrong path, and you're going to have to start over, and you're going to start and stop and go all sorts of directions. So the main thing is learning about emotional intelligence. How do you relate with others? Communication, understanding boundaries of communication, when you can push, when you can't. Follow up. So those are kind of like the staples of information that I think people don't focus on later until they get into business. They just start out when they get into business. Like, I need to learn how to do lead generation and prospecting. I need to understand my finances. But ultimately, focusing on your communication abilities is the number one thing. I mean, running a podcast, you can't do this without being able to communicate. You can't, do a sales call. You can't recruit somebody and then motivate somebody and inspire somebody without being able to communicate. So it's creating a vision, communicating that vision to people for them to get behind it and share that vision, and other people to get behind it is what creates a team or a movement or anything that's got excitement behind it. So could you imagine what's going on right now, like the Real World Series with like the baseball, not the poker one?
Yeah. Tonight's game 6 as we record, right? It's Halloween as we record. I think it's game 6 tonight. Yeah.
So if you see,
it's been a great series.
Yeah. And the emotion around it, right? And the excitement, the storylines, and it's because these people are connected and these teams are connected. And so if you look at any championship team, it doesn't matter if it's NBA, football, or baseball, it's how they relate to each other as a group and a team. And how do you relate from, so the only way that we know what's in my mind and what's in Mike's mind is if we have an internal thought process that we create our thoughts and seeds of thought, and we transfer those thoughts through the external world. So everything's internal first and external second. And so you can't have a team unless you all have the same internal understanding of what you're doing, running the same plays, but also have an external understanding that the others are moving in the same direction. And so to build a big business or to build a big following like you're trying to do here with the podcast, or to build a team, it's about sharing a vision, communicating that vision so that others emotionally involve themselves in it and are all moving in the same direction. And if enough energies relate and connect on that same, thought process and that same vision and the same culture, things are going to move forward and compound over time. And but it's about, everything's about communication ultimately.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, we talk about this a lot on the show with different people, entrepreneurs, but it comes back to storytelling. If they're really good at sharing, like you mentioned, vision and communication, like that's storytelling. It's a good movie, visually compelling, and it communicates feelings to us, right? But yeah, to be able to be a great communicator, you have to be a great storyteller to get people to buy into what you're doing in a healthy, genuine way, right? Again, you talk about that salesman that isn't doing the right things, and it just looks different, it feels different. Something's not right there. All of those things are not aligned. So I definitely agree. A couple more for you, dude. So if you were to put up a huge billboard that's seen by millions of entrepreneurs, what would your simple message be? Like a tagline or message for them?
Lately, I'd probably just say hard work, God first. I've been more open about my faith here lately, but ultimately, God first and then hard work is the two things that got me to every goal that I've hit. And if you really think about it, it's the belief that I'm going to be able to do it, and that God's going to be with me as I pursue these goals, and then working hard consistently and until I achieve those goals. But I just don't see
God first plus hard work equals achieving your dreams. Would you say? Yeah.
I'd say maybe not hard work, but hard work, consistency of it. So I think the reason why people don't achieve success is they don't show up every day. And so it's a day in, day out thing until you hit your goal. And so there's not a lot of balance in the beginning of goals, big goals that you want to achieve. Now, small goals, you can have balance, but if you're trying to build something big in the beginning, you have no balance, and then balance increases as time goes forward, as you start to build that business. Like I didn't play poker for 8 years. Now, because I built my businesses, I can have more balance and do other things in my life. But I knew that later in life, I could have the balance. So I want to encourage you guys that you have these other goals and things in your life, hobbies. Don't ever, if you shelf them, don't ever leave them on the shelf. You can come back 10 years later, like I did, and still go after these goals and hobbies. But you need to build some type of passive income or some type of reoccurring income stream at some point, which is going to give you your freedom of time and money later, that you can go have that balance. But until you build a business or something that has cash flow coming in, or something that gives you a net worth large enough, you need to put all your attention into building that safety net and that foundation. Once you're making 10 to 50K or however much you need to live your life where you feel comfortable, then open up into the other areas of your life, like starting.
Because you'll be able to do it from a place of, I don't like the word comfort necessarily, but you're going to be feeling good. Vibes are good. Energy is good. So now you want to go get your hobby back. You're doing it and not feeling like, oh my God, if I spend 2 hours, practicing this, poker for this poker tournament, maybe doing like a warm-up game or something. If your business is struggling or your family life is struggling, it's like all you're thinking about is that you're taking away in a less than feeling, where if you're got that part of it taken care of and now you're doing it, it's a plus, it's a bonus, it's a great feeling because you're doing it, you're living it, and it's positive energy and vibes, right? So I definitely think that makes a lot of sense, doing it in the right order there. What's one thing that maybe we would be surprised to learn about you that we wouldn't know? Anything?
My other thing I do is I like to bass fish. So some business, poker, and fishing. I know it's like a weird combination, but I'm a little bit weird, and sometimes you have to be a little weird to kind of stand out in the world. Yeah. But I'm really introverted, so which is weird that I run like a large team and have been on social media. But normally, like, I'm a pretty boring person. I think people would think like, I'm out there like driving around doing crazy stuff. Pretty much, I just work and stay to myself. So I go fishing, but I fish hard. Like, we catch big ones. We're not just like sitting on a dock, throwing a bobber, kicking our feet up.
I did know that about you because it was on your social, but someone just meeting you today wouldn't know that about you. So there's something good because your brain is always on. It's go mode with the team, EXP. It's go mode at the table. That's like mental gymnastics you're doing. So that's got to be exhausting. And just to be able to sit out there, enjoy, soak up the lake and, be with either by yourself, which is a great thing, or with friends, right? And have those memories too. So that's awesome. If you can go back now and give your 20-year-old self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Probably go straight into business instead of playing poker. Poker's good, but and I would encourage you young guys, like that's not the path for you. Go into business. Business is where you're going to make the money, and then also like take some more time. So you're talking about the lake and going out and get clarity of thoughts. One of the things that like a lot of people do, Mike, that or don't do is they don't think anymore. And that's why Think and Grow Rich and understand how your brain works is so important. So a human's the only thing that lives in this world that's conscious, that has the ability to decipher information, decide, is the sky purple or is it black or is it green? Or, you can't tell a cat, that they don't
Everything
understand.
else is reactionary. Yeah.
Right. And so what happened in generations past, before all this external stimulus, like movies and social media and marketing everywhere, people had thinking time. So like if you think about like that DuckTales cartoon and Scrooge or whatever is walking around a circle and he's got that thinking room. People used to have thinking chairs because if you don't take time to slow down and clear out your mind, just like you clear off your desk or clear out your house and keep your house clean, you can't have a creative thought process. So, a lot of my day is thinking. And so when I go to the lake, I have the ability to plan and visualize and think forward. And so you can't accomplish big long-term goals unless you can see it in the mind first. And you can't see it in the mind first if everything's being told for you to look at this, meaning look at this Instagram post or look at that post. And so most people are so fixated in these fake environments, these little matrices we've created, the fake world, the social media world, which we all live in, but you need to have real time in the real world. And so what I'd encourage you guys is to disconnect, either run, ride a bike, fish, camp, do something where you're consistently getting away from all the external noise, where you have an internal reflection time where you can really get to know yourself and get to know what you're trying to do. Because I don't think most people even know who they are, better yet, what they want to do, because they don't ever slow down. It's a nonstop external stimulus everywhere.
Dude, that's an incredible exclamation point on this episode. Like, you got to get back to that. And that's something personally I needed to hear today, man. I appreciate you sharing that, because it is true. I'm, running the business in go mode. When I'm with Izzy, go mode, right? Tonight's Halloween. Second I wrap up with work, it's jumping in, going trick or treating. I'm going to come back, check emails. I got another thing I need to get done before tomorrow. And hopefully I get 6 hours of sleep between all of that. And then tomorrow morning, and then keep moving forward on what I got going on tomorrow. But it is so important for us to have that disconnect moment where, turn your phone on airplane mode, give yourself at least 10, 15, 30 minutes. For me, what I usually do is that's like my, and I would like the idea of, going for more walks and, getting nature. That's a great idea. But for me right now, when I'm not doing that, that's my time in the shower. Like, I do take a little bit of a longer shower, but the reason I think that it all downloads to me and those ideas swirl in my head is because when you're in the shower, you're not on your phone, right? I would hope you're not, but like, it's the time, there's no screen. Sometimes I'll play music or listen to a podcast when I'm in the shower, but like, I can intentionally say, no, the only thing I'm going to hear is the water. And that's where a lot of my best ideas come from too. So I definitely agree with you, but get out in nature. It's even better. And that can inspire more thought and cool stuff literally coming from the universe.
When you're like driving, like, why do people like go on like a road trip? Like, say they're going for like Christmas to their family and they drive like 5 hours and they're like, oh, I like driving. I feel it's because a lot of times like you're in that internal reflection, and then when you're done with it, you're not even aware what happened, but you were thinking and you were solving problems in your life and you're reflecting on things, and that's really the same type of thing. But if you don't take that time to have a stimulus break from the outside world, also like as you so like what happens is we don't want to do it because we're like, I'm so far behind, I'm gonna get farther behind. But there's but
our internal voice is telling us not to go there. We can't spend time there, but we can. We need to.
Opposite, you'll make.
I like this visual of you, Connor, sitting in this big red king's chair with like, upholstered, beautiful velvet, whatever it might be, with a little pipe in your mouth in your little thinking chair.
There's
That's all the great ideas.
Scroll through somewhere on my Instagram page like a couple years ago. I was at an event and they had this like cool place and there's like this giant chair. And let me see if I can find it real quick. But
Did I describe it basically?
yeah, I thought you were going to talk about that. I don't know if I can find
That's
it.
funny. Well, send it to me and I'll put it up on the screen. Send it to me and we'll put it up right here.
Yeah.
Dude, you're the man. I know you got to run right now. Happy Halloween. Happy Q4 into Q1. Love what you're doing, brother. Keep growing the team, building the dreams for yourself and the team. And keep doing those tournaments, man. You're great at it. And 3-time champ and counting. Yeah. So I don't, again, follow it. I don't watch it on ESPN or whatnot, but I'm aware of it. And it's really cool to know someone who's like in that space. And, you know, you're kind of like becoming the Otani of the World Series of Poker. That's pretty cool. Yeah. And any last words before you jump? Is there something that you're like, man, it's heavy on my heart. I wanted to get this out to the mic'd up audience. Is there anything else maybe we didn't hit on?
Yeah, I just really think about life construction and keeping things visual for yourself. So like I have all over my walls in my rooms, like I've talked about, always visual cues, reminders. And so if you think about how things manifest into your long-term goals, everything goes from an intellectual process to an emotional process to a physical process. And so if you think about like Napoleon Hill's like famous saying, whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. And so if you think about the first part of that, the conception, whatever the mind can conceive, this is the seed in the mind, the internal thought process, the visualization. Like you could never build this podcast unless you first thought of it, you had the idea and the vision of doing it. That's the beginning part of any goal achieved. So you're never just going to show up super successful at something unless you designed it. And I think a lot of people float through life and they're like, well, the right person's going to come into my life and they're going to be doing something and I can do what they do. And then I'll go have success like them, or I'll have this idea or this invention. You need to decide that you're going to be successful, look at the ending point and work back and then create the vision to do so. Nothing can come into the physical world without the mind seeing it first. Like this logo couldn't have gone on the wall first and be there unless I said, I'm going to create a logo for a business and then I'm also going to market it and understand it. So the first part's the intellectual side, the conception of the thought and the visualization. The second start is whatever mind can conceive and believe. It's the emotional attachment. So the second thing we have to have into any big achievement goal is the massive emotional involvement in what we're doing. So it doesn't matter if, you know, real estate's going to be the end game to you or poker or starting a band. You could see 100 million people do it before you. But if you don't buy into this fully emotionally and tie into it where you have an emotional stake in it, when it gets tough, you'll sit down. So it doesn't matter if people can do it and have success doing it. You have to have that emotional attachment to the vision. So conception, belief, and then the achievement process, which is the physical having. So if you could create a vision and you can see it in the mind, and then you can remind yourself that this is the purpose, this is what you're driving for, stay into that with the emotional attachment to it, no matter what adversities and hardships come your way, where you're never going to quit. Eventually, after not quitting for long enough, God's going to say, this one has passed my test and just whatever, he's got it. And then that's when the blessing comes and the actual achievement of these goals, where people see it, but they never saw like that long journey of doubt and you know, mental stress and wavering.
Yeah, looks like an overnight success, but this person's been visualizing it, taking action every day, consistently showing up, believing in it, seeing it before it's happened. Sometimes years before, sometimes months before, whatever it might be, days before, but having the belief, you know, the conception of the idea, the belief of the idea, the action behind, if I do these things, this will happen. And then, you know, there's some faith involved, but like you're giving yourself the opportunity to do it. Cause now you have a game plan, you're following, it's like a GPS is great. But if you don't actually drive on all the streets that it tells you to go, you're not going to get to the end result. You got to do the action part of it too. So that's a great mic drop moment to end the episode. I will let you go. I could talk to you all day long. I love picking your brain. You got so many good things and insights. What I love about your story is it's not something you just learned in a book and you're just regurgitating Napoleon Hill. You've experienced it. You've done it. You've done it at a high level and you keep doing it. And reinventing yourself through, you know, learning new stuff too, because Napoleon Hill's 100 years old. It still applies to 2025 really, really well. But you're also doing it's generational, but you're also doing new and fresh and cool stuff with your team. You're getting out there, you know, fishing just to get your head and your mind and your body and your soul right. You're a great person for me personally to look up to and say, man, you know, a man of God, like, you know, you're doing things the right way. And yeah, I'm glad you're in my network and space because you're someone I do look up to, brother. So appreciate you being on the show. I end every episode with be great, be grateful. I added a new one. Right? Be kind. Something that's an easy reminder we can all do. It's free. And I'm going to add one more. this episode and every episode going forward, I'm going to just start telling everybody, God bless. Whether you believe it or not, man, God's got a bigger plan for all of us. And we see it in your life coming to fruition already. So love to have you on the show. Thank you for being here, and God bless.
Thank you, man.